Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. This is your Monday morning best bets episode. We'll give you best bets for the plays in the NBA playoffs on Monday night. To do that, I'm joined by Joe DeLera from the Action Network, as well as Jim Turvey from the Action Network. You can find him on Twitter at Joe DeLera, because Joe's boring, and at Turvey Bets, because Jim is not. So I got the Joes and the Jims, and we're hanging out here today. Glad to have you guys with us. Want to remind you that everything you find in today's show can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Best place for you to track your picks up to the second information where the bets and money are coming in on. You'll get great information like this stat that I'm going to say at the top of the show and then periodically throughout the show in order to appease our producer, Matt Mitchell. As a heads up, in the last 3 seasons, before this was, I think, as of Friday, the winner straight up in playoff games was 171-13 against the spread. So obviously, if you were a dog and you went outright, you covered. If you were a favorite and you won, you covered. So there you go. And also, if you were a dog and you didn't win, you also didn't cover. That's probably the more interesting note there. As of this season, that number is now 32-1. It's lost twice since we kind of put the stat out there the other night, and since Matt made a note of it. So it's an interesting trend to kind of look at as far as like, look, if you win, you're going to cover, right? Like if you win, you're going to cover. And so you should probably be playing who you think is going to have the outcome of these games. And if you're a dog, you should probably be on the money line. We'll see how that holds up as the series goes on. Since 2019-20, we're looking at 268, 27, and 5 in the playoffs for 91% against the spread if you won the game outright. So a little bit note there. You're going to want to keep track of that as we go along here. We will go around the table, do our best bets for Monday's slate, and then we'll get into the picks. Joe, let's start with you. What are your best bets for the Monday slate?
I'm looking at the Bucks to win the series and Desmond Bane over 3.5 assists.
Okay. Jim Turvey, what do you like for the Monday slate?
Yeah, I got Brook Lopez under points and rebounds. That's no questions asked. And then I got a couple of Jimmy Butler contingent plays on him not playing. And if so, that's Bucks minus 5.5 and Kyle Lowry over points, rebounds, and assists.
Okay. I will take the over in Bucks Heat, 217.5. And that's going to be it for me. As how can I put this? I'm in hell. I can't hit anything. As a good example of where things are at for me right now, I had Kings money line on Sunday, and I'm not doing the whole bad beat theater here, but just as an illustration, had Kings money line, and then live bet it late when the Warriors were up by 5 late. I bet the minus 3.5. Got a juicy number on a little bit of an adjustment of the book. Yeah. I somehow lost both. I lost both. I middled myself. So It's a good time for me right now in the NBA playoffs. I would like the first round to end now. I'd be good with that, is what I would like. Joe, let's go to you though. Let's start with here. So you like your plays on the Bucks to win the series. Giannis Antetokounmpo participated. Now, here's the funny thing: Stuckey, who does awesome work for us on NFL, college football, and college basketball, texted me. He DM'd me the other day, I think on Saturday morning, and was like, "What are your estimations on Giannis and Ja?" And I said 40% that Ja plays, 60% that Giannis plays. Giannis did not play. Ja did play, and Ja looked awesome.
Like
Yep. But anyway, it just kind of show you like the Bucks have been like, yeah, no, he's progressing, and like there was optimism and blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, he doesn't play. Just does not play. So he participated at practice on Sunday, did some work, did individual work, is what Mike Budenholzer said, but declined to give an update. I will talk more about the Giannis thing here in a minute. Give me your cap on why you like the Bucks series spread.
Look, I think that on the season as overall, I think Milwaukee is just much better. Additionally, like when we're looking at this game, you have to assume at some point that Giannis is going to play. Like I think that there was optimism, like you had said, that he would play in game 3. Obviously, they didn't, but this is, in my opinion, this game is a must-win game for Milwaukee. Miami should probably want to win this game. Like they should probably try to win as many games as they can, but it does seem like they may be in a position where they're going to say like, well, maybe we need to rest Jimmy Butler. I think getting this, I think that at minus 200, basically, Milwaukee wins this series enough percentage of the time that you're clearing this, even though they're down a game right now, especially with the fact that, you know, you're going to play game 4 is obviously on the road, but you have 2 more games at home, including a game 7. So I think that worst case scenario, this series goes 7, and I'll always take Milwaukee in this spot. It's a little bit of a money line look, but I'd rather play that than try to guess, are they going to cover? I understand what the trends say, I understand what the numbers say, but I also think that a lot of times, like we just saw it on Sunday, where the Warriors were laying 8.5 points down 2-1 at home, or down 2-1 in the series at home, and they didn't cover. They won, but they didn't cover. So I think that it's a spot where, this line could potentially balloon, and I don't want to be worried about, Milwaukee covering like a -8.5 number potentially if Jimmy's out, when they really just need to win, and maybe they manage Giannis's minutes or like a little bit in this series. But I like them to still come out of this series. I think they're the better team.
How much of this is a cap on Jimmy Butler's availability?
It's a little bit of that, I think, but I think the other thing is with Miami, losing Tyler Hero, in my opinion, is very significant, right? Because now they're looking for shooting, they're looking for scoring. They started Kevin Love. Like, you can't do that if Giannis is playing. You cannot. You could. I guess let's not assume the rational coaching thing, but you can't do that. Like, you're gonna get murdered on the glass. So I think that Miami's done a lot, and like I think they should be applauded for what they've managed to do, despite not having to contend against Giannis. But Milwaukee's just flat out better, and I like this price. Like, you're getting a way adjusted spot at this point, down 2-1, but Giannis hasn't played, so I think that I would absolutely take Milwaukee to win. What do we need? 3 out of the next 4 games at -200 basically.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Giannis. Jimmy, I don't really have any update on. I don't think we're gonna get one. The Heat are pretty obtuse when it comes to
injury reports.
Yeah, there's not a lot of opaqueness there. So Giannis, I will say this: the commentary from Budenholzer on Sunday, and this is like, how can I put this? There is a feeling amongst people I've talked to that, like, if the Bucks had lost game 2, Giannis plays in game 3. And that because they're now down 2-1, that Giannis probably returns for this game. But my problem with that is it still feels like there's like a trend here of just like, yeah, no, he's going to play. No. And that's happened some of the season. Like, he's just had times when it's like, oh yeah, Giannis is going to play. And then suddenly like, nope. And I don't know if the medical staff is just being really, 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 really cautious. I'm kind of like, what are you guys doing here? You don't have that big of a chance. Like, you should not go at, like, this is a great chance for you to win a second title. You should really not waste it with the situation that you have with contracts and age. But they seem to be dancing with the devil here. We'll see how it shapes out. Jim, you like the Bucks on the spread here. I want to remind everyone that the winner of the game in the playoffs this season, going back to 2019-20, it has been absolutely insane. So make sure that you check out those trends, that if you win the game, you cover. So you like the Bucks -5.5 here, Jim. Why do you want the Bucks here?
Yeah, my cap is tied more to this looking at this line and seeing what it's telling me. So the last game, game 3, Bucks were favored by 2 before the game. And now we have them favored by 5.5. So to me, this tells me either the Bucks think Giannis is playing, or they think Jimmy is not playing, or some mixture of those two. But it is a much bigger number. I don't think the books usually bake in 3.5 points for, kind of desperation mode, right? I think that's something that you kind of, like, a casual bettor would kind of overrate, if anything. Usually that's maybe a point and a half. It's not 3.5 points. So if we get no Jimmy, which I think is probably the more likely of the two, because I know that we've been getting zigzags from the Bucks, but with them down 2-1, I think it's far more likely that Giannis is going to play. Whereas the Heat are going to look at it and be, we stole our game on the road. We held when we came back home. If it goes 2-2, we'll try and win this best out of 3. So the number there tells me that the books think maybe that Giannis is more likely than Jimmy of the two to play. And if Jimmy's out, I actually like this number regardless of whether Giannis plays, and I even like it if the number moves a little bit. Ooh. Yeah, because without Jimmy, it hasn't happened often, but without Jimmy and Tyler this season, there's been about 4 games and their offense is just putrid. It makes sense. There's not really any engines to that offense when those two guys are out. It kind of ties to my other play that Kyle Lowry. I'm going to be looking at him in points, rebounds, assists over if Jimmy is out, because he is the guy that has stepped up in those few occasions. But in those 4 games, they didn't clear 100 offensive rating in any of the 4 until a garbage game 81 in which they had 37 points in the 4th quarter and stuck over. But this offense without Jimmy and Tyler is really, really bad. So if Jimmy's out, even if Giannis is out, I'm going to be looking at the Bucks for sure. Miami's offense just really can't get stuff done without those two guys. But we'll put up pretty big numbers. They don't have a line out for his numbers right now. It makes sense because I think Jimmy is no info there. So it was 14.5 last game. I'd imagine if Jimmy's out, that number is much bigger. So definitely keep track in the app. They could sniff it out entirely, but Lowry's numbers without those two guys in the 2 games he's played have been pretty good. I'll definitely give it a pretty good look. I think it'd be hard to set a number, like kind of a reasonable number that I wouldn't be looking at regardless. So that's kind of my cap on those 2 sides of it.
No, Victor Oladipo as well. Torn patellar tendon for Vic. That sucks. Just want to say the injuries suck. We've now lost Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, Victor Oladipo, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Who else? What else am I missing?
Ja for a bit.
For a bit. Just it's rough out there on the injury streets right now. Yeah, I mean, I lean towards this because I think part of this is also, can you imagine the Bucks really going down 3-1 to this Heat team? Like, is that something that you can really like get your head around? I'm actually pretty mad about these injuries because we didn't get a chance to do series previews, but I bet the Heat plus 2.5, and I picked the Heat to go for the Bucks to win in 7 in the series. Like that was my official pick.
Very live.
Very live.
And I don't get any credit for it because of the injuries. Like, oh yeah, because Giannis got hurt. I'm like, but I knew that the people. Damn it. We'll see what happens with Jimmy's injury. Obviously, Jimmy is questionable for tomorrow. Bam Adebayo is probable. Victor Oladipo obviously out with the patellar tendon. Tyler Hero is out with the right hand fracture. So a pretty messy injury report. Giannis is still listed as questionable for this game with a lower back contusion. So we'll see how this one shakes out. I do agree with you on the line, Jim. This is like, I'm trying to figure out what the mental math is to get to this line where it was 2 at close without Bam or without Giannis with Jimmy. And now we're at 5.5. Or Jimmy might play, he might not, and Giannis might play and he might not, and there's no Victor and there's no Hero. And I'm like trying to do all of the math on like the adjustments to the halfway mark on the spread, and I think it just comes down to like, again, instead of playing the spread, just play who you think is going to win the game, because again, those are 91% of the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. Well, let's go to your point on that. I mean, the 2 wins that the Heat have had, they've been lights out from 3, and the Bucks tend to, they can give up threes at times. They haven't done that as much this season, but they're not a bad 3-point defense, and the Heat are not a good 3-point shooting defense. So you really have to believe that something has changed within this series, which it's 3 games. I would tend to favor the regular season numbers at this point, unless you're seeing some reason to swap it. And I haven't really. I mean, Duncan's been dusted off and looking good, but I don't know if that'll sustain.
Yeah.
I will say I like the over here because I think Giannis comes back and he boosts their transition attack. I think also if Jimmy doesn't play, that probably means the Heat play a little bit faster because they have to. Like they're going to have to get up and down here a little bit in order to keep pace. They can't just grind out possessions because they don't have that ability. They're going to want to dictate the pace a little bit faster. So I'll go the over 217.5 here. I have this on regular season projections at 223. I think there's a pretty good chance that one of these teams, like I don't need both of them. I need one of these teams to stabilize in terms of the 3-point shooting, and it's been kind of wonky all over the place. I may get hit with the Bucks can't hit anything and the Heat don't have anyone who could score. Entirely possible, but I'll go ahead and I'll go with the over 217.5. Jim, give me the cap on Desmond Bane and his assist prop on this series.
So that's me. But the thing with Bane is over his last 20 games with John Morant, he's been successful on this number. He's hitting this in 65% of games. Obviously, the last game, the last 2 games, really, he's struggled a bit with the assist numbers, but the potentials are still there. He's still getting about like 8 potential assists per game. And I know that you generally kind of convert about half of those. I mean, a big part of this, though, has been that the Grizzlies offense has just looked like wonky. Like they haven't looked great, right? But in the first game of the series against the Lakers, he had 6 assists. So I think this is a little bit of a buy low spot. I was expecting to see like a 4.5 line here. There's the 3.5. There's a little bit of juice around like minus 130 right now. But I think this is a number that he goes over. Prior to these 2 games, he'd gone over the 3.5 mark in 8 in a row. So I think that this is a spot where they need him to be that secondary facilitator. We're not like Ja Morant obviously went kind of crazy last game, but I think a lot of that too is when Ja has the ball, like nobody's really passing him the ball. He's the guy that kind of brings the ball up the court, does his own thing, and then, they lose by 10. So I think that maybe if they get a little bit more offensive flow, a little bit more offensive rhythm, which is something that they probably need to do, then that means that Desmond Bane's passing the ball and being a secondary facilitator. So I like him to go over the 3.5 against the Lakers here.
Love that, Cap. I lean towards Grizzlies in this game. I'm not going to play it because, as our Evan Abrams has pointed out, the Grizzlies are now 0-16 straight up and 2-14 against the spread as road dogs this season, including 23 straight losses. Their last win was January 21st, 2022.
This is like a Maxwell trend, collision here between the winners covering with the Lakers and then the Grizzlies, not covering and also losing.
Yeah. So I lean Grizzlies, but I'm not going to go up against those trends. I do not have that firm of a cap on it. I like the Lakers in the series. We're sitting pretty there. I'll just say, like, I don't know. I think there's a chance that Rui Hachimura turns back into a pumpkin, and it's not a pumpkin. That's not fair to him. Turns back into like a normal NBA player at some point in these playoffs. But
yeah, it's
single game variance and some things and strange things happen. RJ Barrett looks like an NBA player. Anything can happen really when you get to the NBA. So I lean kind of towards the Grizzlies in the spot, but I'm not going to play it because of those trends. If you want the trends, it's obviously you should definitely bet the Lakers. Jim, do you have thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think to me it kind of pivots on the Triple J AD matchup. I think that's kind of swung each game. I think when AD didn't look good, it was Grizz. When Triple J had a down game and AD looked like the peak that he can be, it was kind of like Lakers in a walk. So I think that's, if you're going to be like live betting this, you never want to distill a game to one matchup, but that's kind of what I would be looking at early, is to see if either Triple J gets in foul trouble. That's something we've been talking about, since the beginning of the series. Or if AD just looks like he's on one, I think it's going to be tough to stop the Lakers. I tend to lean a little bit on a buy low for the Grizzlies as well. I know that's going against a couple things here. This series, to me, kind of had 7 written on it from the start. I think that I don't think the Grizzlies are going to go away here. I think that I'd probably be on the Memphis side if anything.
Yeah, it's tough because you got I will say I got away from this with my series caps, but a thing that I had success with in regular season was, hey, like look at the number, evaluate the number, then look at the trend, look at the spot. And if you've got alignment on things, you should go for it. Again, I don't think the matchup is so bad that the Grizzlies should go down 3-1 to the Lakers. Yeah. Even with Ja missing a game, don't think they should go down 3-1. But at the same time, like the Grizzlies have just been too bad on the road, and we've seen the Warriors win at home, lose on the road. So we have kind of all these consistent trends. So we'll see kind of how it shakes out here.
Hey Matt, can I sneak in one? When we were doing the first game, I forgot to do one of the little player props I wanted. Do you mind if I sneak one?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I forgot to get to your Kyle Lowry. So you got Kyle Lowry points, rebounds, assists here.
Yeah, I got Kyle Lowry over if Jimmy plays, and that's one where he's going to be the driver of the offense, and that's a Jimmy Butler dependent one. But then I have one that I also like that's not Jimmy dependent, and this one's the line's already up, and I already fired in the app, so hopefully you followed there. But Brook Lopez under points and rebounds. He's average. His numbers are really down for this series, and I don't think it's coincidence. His minutes have dropped in each of the 3 games. It's not a great matchup for him. He's only averaging 13.7. 3.7 rebounds per game this series. It's just not a great matchup fit. He's only gotten off 5 threes all series. He hasn't made a single one. I mean, Bam's a great defender. He's mobile. Brook isn't getting some of the action that he has gotten before. I think you can, and this kind of cuts either way. If Giannis is back, he's going to see less of the ball. You might even see his minutes drop a little bit. Or if Giannis isn't back, it means that Bam's going to be tied right to him and he's not going to be getting open looks. So I just don't like this spot for Brook either way. That number is at 20.5. So the books they're noticing that he's playing worse too. So I think this number might even keep going down a little bit. So I would try and jump on that Lopez under 20.5 points plus rebounds.
Nice stuff. Joe, you agree with that one?
Yeah, I love that. Love that.
Okay, that's gonna wrap it up for buckets for a Monday. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to follow Joe in the app and on Twitter at Joe Delera. You can follow Jim on Twitter and in the app at Turvy Bets. We'll be back with you tomorrow with the best bets episode. We'll also do a weekend recap. Check that out in your feed. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to download the Action Network app. We'll see you guys again next time. Until then, let's get buckets.